is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Thursday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. On Tuesday, we had the Frozen Frenzy. Never want to do that again. All 16 games on the slate. I don't even remember. It was like 16 is just too much. 11 is a lot, but it feels like a miracle. Breaking down only 11 games here and joining me to do it, Vladimir Slim Cliffy. What's going on?
Yeah. Like I really do like the Frozen Frenzy as a concept. It's just, as we mentioned on Tuesday, what DraftKings should have done is just had a 4-game early slate and then a 12-game main slate. 16-game slate's pretty ridiculous, but we have a more manageable 11 games here on the board tonight. No back-to-backs because there's only one game last night, Columbus and Toronto. Toronto
got embarrassed.
The final was 6-3, but 2 of those goals came like in the last 4 minutes of the game or something. Like this was a 6-1 game. It's not what you want. But looking ahead to this 11-gamer, it's kind of interesting because you and I were talking about some of the ownership rates on the slate. We'll definitely go through them, but there are some heavy owned spots. There's nothing that sticks out as like major chalky. Like, there's a couple low priced lines that might come in, like, ownership of like 2x their top 2 stack or something like that. But there's nothing on the board that's like 6% top 2 stack, 25% ownership or anything like that. So it feels like a pretty wide open slate in that regard. And those are the slates that I like.
Yeah. After a 16-game slate, I pretty much like any other slate that we were breaking down. This is the last like giant slate for a while. November, it's a very even schedule, which is nice. So,
yeah, and I know we talked to a lot of people that don't like the 13-game slates or whatever. Like, there's going to be a couple of those in November, but it's a lot of like 4-game, 9-game, like those types of things. So this is, after, except for like Saturdays or whatever, but through the week, that like this isn't going to be the norm for much longer.
Like 7, 8, 9-game slates is better for everybody. We can go a little bit deeper on the games. You guys get more information. Don't have to research 16 games. But anyway, we should get into this slate. Frostback has arrived, so now we can start. Let's lead it off with the Buffalo Sabres with a 3.1 total. Heading into Boston, the Bruins have a 3 total. Boston going Pastrnak, Lindholm, and Kuznetsov. I think I messed that up, but it's close enough. Zacha, Arvidsson, Middlestat, and Morgan Geekie down on the third line with Fraser Minton and Tanner Jeannot. Buffalo going Thompson, Benson, Kulik, Tuck, McLeod, Doan, Zucker, Quinn, Greenway. We were talking about this game before the slate or before the show. Buffalo has the second highest road total on the slate. It's a good matchup. And per the top stacks and per your numbers, Buffalo is not grading out well for some reason. Not exactly sure why. Hampus Lindholm is back for Boston. Maybe that makes some difference, but I do have some interest here in Thompson, Benson, and Kulik. If you want to turn it into a power play stack and go 3 forwards, you can add in Doan instead of Kulik or Zucker. But I'm fine with the Buffalo 1 stack. Like, they're coming in at 1.9% projected ownership for a 3.1 total, when them and New Jersey are the only 2 teams above a 3 total on the road. So I do kind of like Buffalo 1 here. The price is kind of the issue, $17,200. It's not like overly expensive. There's just a ton of teams in that range that we're going to have to talk about. The Sharks, the Wild, even Boston, some Devils lines. There's just a lot in that price range. So maybe that's why. But I do like Buffalo 1 here. Buffalo 2 has been good from a generation standpoint, but for some reason, their top 2 stack is under 1%. They are 13,900, which isn't awful. So, like, if you get there, you get there. for me, it would be Buffalo 1. On the Boston side, like the Boston top line, even with Kuznetsov, has double the top 2 percentages Buffalo won, which I don't really understand. And I also worry that if it's a close game, you're going to see Morgan Geekie move back up. They kind of float him around. So really, I'm just going to be a broken record with Boston here. It's a Pastrnak one-off or bust for me, and Buffalo 1.
Yeah. We mentioned on the last show, Michael Kesselring being back for Buffalo does make a difference. It gives them their full complement of defensemen. Kesselring is a legitimate second pair guy. Whether they play him on the second or the third pair, I guess we'll find out. Long term, I think he's going to start on the third pair. So that makes it a little bit tougher for Boston. Like Kuznetsov, he's just a guy, right? Like Morgan Geekie, there are things you can point to in his tracking profile, especially improvements over the last few years, not just playing with Pastrnak, but playing in the depth for Boston and playing elsewhere. Like there are things you can point to that he's an improved player. There's nothing for Kuznetsov. So he's a guy. He's literally just a body. And listen, he can be elevated by David Pastrnak, but now Pastrnak has to carry Lindholm and a winger, right? At least Geekie can contribute on his own. Now you're asking Pastrnak to literally carry the entire line. I'm just kind of out on Boston here. I don't really have a problem playing them, generally speaking, but ownership a little bit higher than top 2 stack. Literally, like I said, just a guy playing on Pasternak's opposite wing. There's nothing there for me. We always say David Pastrnak is fine as a one-off. He's fine as a one-off here tonight. He's third by projections among wingers by Stochastics numbers here tonight. So he's always fine as a one-off. Other than that, not really a lot of interest for me. It is a Buffalo game. The reason it's a Buffalo game, their power play bricked against Columbus. They got 3 goals at even strength. They just couldn't get there on the power play, but they only had 2 opportunities. They only drew 2 power plays. Boston's the 4th most penalized team in the league, and they're one of 5 teams giving up over 4 power plays per game. Pardon me. And, we talked on Tuesday how good this Buffalo power play has been with Josh Stone on the top unit. So, you do get Benson and Thompson on the top power play. You can leave Kulik off. The problem is he's listed at he's the center. So you take him off and put Doan on, all of a sudden it's a 3-wing stack. You can still get away with it, but just something to keep in mind. But I really do like the top line here. They have been generating pretty well, 64 shot attempts, 2.6 expected goals. Tage and Benson around 19, 20 minutes. Even Kulik is getting around 17 lately since he jumped up to the top line. Benson's not shooting a lot, so you're relying on him for assists. But it's one of those things. It's if Buffalo piles on the goals, it's probably, and his line is scoring, he's going to figure in just because he has the puck so much. I'm with you. I really do like Buffalo 1 here. Again, I don't have a problem just straight up adding Josh Stone to the stack just because he is a key cog of that power play. And this is a night where they could draw 3, 4, 5 power play opportunities, and that would be good news because the Boston PK is fine, above average, maybe even good, but you give up that many power play opportunities and it could come back to bite you. So Buffalo 1 for me from this.
Let's move on to the next one. Breaking it out early. This game sucks. Nashville Predators with a 2.6 total heading into Philadelphia. The Flyers have a 3 total. Philadelphia going Tippett, Couturier, Konechny, Forrester, Cates, Brink, Michkov, Zegras, Dvorak. Nashville going Forsberg, O'Reilly, Wood, Marchessault, Stamkos, Yost, Evangelista, Halla, Bunting. How is Tyson Yost in the top 6? That's almost Rangers level bad with Connor Sheary in the top 6. But
before we go too much further, just want to mention something I threw out on Twitter yesterday. Nashville's game on Tuesday, they posted 0.39 expected goals per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. It was the lowest mark for a team in a regular season game in the analytics era, which is now 19 years. The worst single game expected goal number of any team in 19 years. This team sucks.
I'm out on Nashville. Yeah, I mean, like if you get a Forsberg one offshore, you know what I mean? But like Stamkos playing center, even if it is Svechkov or if it's Yost, I have no interest. So it really would be a Forsberg one-off. But he can only do so much. My interest is on the Flyers side here. The Flyers top line is in that range we just talked about. Buffalo 1, Couturier, Konechny, Tippett, 17,100, 5% top 2, 2.3% projected ownership. It's like there's no matchup concerns here. All of the Nashville lines are bad. So, yeah, I think there's honestly 3 playable lines at 3 different price points for the Flyers here. I guess the Cates and the Zegers line are right next to each other in price. But if you are willing to spend up into that 17 range, I do like that Couturier, Konechny, Tippett line. Am I going to prioritize them in that range? Probably not. But if I'm MMEing, I certainly would have some there. I think as a filler, Cates, Forrester, Brink, 12,100, 3.7% projected ownership. Perfectly fine. I mean, before Tippett got moved up to that top line, they were definitely like the Cates line was definitely their best line. The one thing that does concern me about, the Flyers is they play to such a slow pace, which is why I probably just go to the Cates line just because they're still 12,100. But if you do want to go to that top line, it's fine. One off Mitchkov, one off Zegers, something like that, good too. But it's a Flyers game, and I'm not super high on them in single entry.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Like, until further notice, I don't think we even have to talk about Nashville. Like, at least not stacking the fours. Like, this was one of the worst scoring teams last year. They're one of the worst scoring teams again. They can't at least last year they were like generating moderately well. This year they're not even doing that. Like, they're just getting run over. This is a very bad team. And believe it or not, Philadelphia leads the league by expected goals against per 60 minutes, like the fewest expected goals against given up of any team at 5-on-5. Like, and Sam Erson's not playing. Vladar's been pretty good. Dan Vladash, sorry. He's been pretty good. So, yeah, out on Nashville. For me, it's the Forster, Cates, and Brink line. The reason is kind of twofold here. One, like, they're getting good ice time. I was looking over the last 5 games. Forster, Cates, and Brink all between 16.5 and 19.5 minutes. Like, Cates and Forster around 18.5, 19.5 minutes. Like, they're getting quite a bit of ice time. Now, part of that is on the PK. Listen, man, I'm not super concerned. Like, they might score on Nashville shorthanded. So, like, you never know. The other is their power play. They're perfectly correlated on the second power play unit. They're kind of the first power play unit now.
Yeah, they've been better.
Yeah, they've been a lot better. The second power play unit, the Cates, Brink, Forster power play unit, 9.6 expected goals per 60 on the power play. The first unit's at 5.5. Like, they're generating like 80% better quality than the top, and they're getting more ice time. I was looking, like, over the last 5 games, they're getting like 55% ish. Like, it's still a fairly close even split, but it was 55-45 the other way to start the season. Now it's in their favor. So they're getting more power play time. Like I said, Cates and Forrester are skating around 19 minutes, even Brink's around 16.5, 17 minutes. And they're going to go out against that Forsberg-O'Reilly line, and they've been a mess defensively. 3.4 expected goals against per 60 for O'Reilly and Forsberg at 5-on-5 this season. Whether it's on them or whether it's on just a blue line that is honestly abysmal, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But this is a very good matchup for Forster, Cates, and Brink. You're right. They do play to a very slow pace. I don't expect a bunch of shot bonuses here. But at 12,100, you don't need them. Like, one perfectly correlated goal with a few shots, like, is fine. If they get 2, you're really in business. They've been, they get, like I said, they get ice time. They're a better power play unit. They get matched up against a bad defensive line. It's Cates, Brink, and Forster for me.
Calgary Flames with a 2.7 total. Heading into Ottawa, the Senators have a 3.3. This game was the runner-up for the This Game Sucks contest. Calgary is going Kadri, Huberdeau, Frost, Coleman, Backlund, Hanzek, Farabee, Sharangovich, Zari. Ottawa going Stützle, Batherson, Cousins, Pinto, Giroux, Amadio, Cousins, Greek, Perron. This is interesting because that Calgary top line is fully correlated. They're 14,300. They get good minutes. And Ullmark has been really bad. The thing is, like, the Sens are still a pretty good defensive team. So it's like, do you want to stack that line because they're playing a goalie who's been playing bad? Like at 14,300, I think you can take that chance. They're like 17 and a half or 18. I say, you're better off looking elsewhere. But, Kadri and Huberdeau, in almost 100 minutes this season, have played very, very well. I don't mind them. They're getting double-digit ownership, which is not ideal. That's the one thing. It's like, do I really want to play Chalk Flames on an 11-game slate? Generally, my answer to that is no. But, I don't mind them. It's really the only line on Calgary that I'm interested in. On the other side, I guess it would be Stützle, Batherson, Cousins at 13.9. Like Cousins, why Cousins is there, we'll never know. The problem is, like, Stützle and Batherson with Cousins there. Like, Stützle and Batherson without Brady Tkachuk haven't been creating a ton. But, like, they're going to avoid that Kadri line. If you want, you can go to like Cousins and Grieg for really cheap. They're also both on the top power play unit. Calgary doesn't have a good penalty kill. It's not Wolf and net tonight.
Devin Cooley.
Yeah, Devin Cooley, who's played actually decent this season so far, but like historically not great numbers on the back of the baseball card. So I think if you want to do pairs for Ottawa, that's the way I'd go. Stützle, Batherson, Cousins, Greek, something like that. And I honestly don't mind Calgary 1 here.
Yeah, so I don't mind Calgary 1 just because Ullmark is playing so poorly. Like, he has the worst goal saved above expected in the NHL this season. Now, I think on a per-minute basis, there are a couple goalies that are worse, but because he's played 9 games, he has the worst accumulated total. 861 save percentage. Like, he has been terrible. The thing is, they're going to run into that Pinto Amadio line and see a lot of Sanderson and Zub. Like, those are pretty bad matchups. The other thing is where you can really get to Ottawa. We talked about it on Tuesdays on the penalty kill, right? Ottawa, again, does not have a very good penalty kill. It was one of their big issues last year, aside from scoring a 5-on-5. And Zane Parek's not playing for Calgary tonight, so they're going to be, they're going to have to change up their power. Calgary's going to have to change up their power play units a bit. Power plays generally not been very good over the last couple of years. It's like the one area they can exploit, that teams can exploit on Ottawa. Calgary just doesn't excel there. With a tough 5-on-5 matchup, I'll probably pass. I think Coleman, Backlund, and Hanzek honestly makes a fine filler, just because they're going to avoid that Pinto matchup. And if you look at the expected goals numbers when they're off the ice, they go up by like 30% when that shutdown line for Ottawa is off the ice. So like it's at least like league average. That line has been generating reasonably well. 59 shot attempts, 3.1 expected goals. They don't get power play time, but again, this isn't a matchup where I'm focusing on Calgary's power play. I'm focusing on the 5-on-5. So Coleman, Backlund, Hanzek, I think is a decent filler if you're going real expensive for a main stack. I'm telling you right now, I'm not playing them here tonight because I think I'd rather just pay up an extra couple grand and go play Philly instead or something like that. But I do think if you want to see if Ullmark keeps this, this poor play rolling, Coleman, Backlund, Hanzek, they've been playing well and they get good matchups, and I think they're a decent filler here tonight. But yeah, this is more of an Ottawa game for me. Calgary gives up a lot of power plays. I was saying earlier, there are 5 teams giving up at least 4 power plays per game. Calgary is one of them. They're just behind Boston. So like Ottawa might get a ton of chances here on the power play. Ottawa's power play shooting over 30%. That's going to regress. I do worry about that. But against a team that gives up a ton of power plays, I kind of agree with you. I would probably just go to Stützle and Batherson, 63 shot attempts per 60. They're not creating a ton of expected goals, only 2.2. But still a small enough sample where that number can come up if they keep generating offense the way that they have. They also get the depth matchups. And, Kadri and Huberdeau have actually had really good defensive numbers, like better defensive numbers than the Coleman Backlund line. So, they do avoid what could be Calgary's toughest matchup. So, for me, it is the Stützle line from Ottawa, and I do think the Coleman Backlund Honzek line is a fine filler here.
Dallas Stars, they 2.8 total. Heading into Tampa, the Lightning have a 3.2. Tampa going Kucherov, Gensel, Point, Hagel, Cirelli, Curtis Douglas. Bjorkstrand, Gonsalves, James. Dallas going Sagan, Rantanen, Steele. Johnston, Robertson, Bork. So I'll start on the Tampa side. Tampa won 22,800. They 17.4% top two stack, 2.8% projected ownership. It's a price thing for me. It's not a great matchup. And there's only one other line above 20K here tonight. It's the Winnipeg Jets. They're $2,100 cheaper and a much better matchup. So it's like if I'm spending above 20K, I'm probably just going to the Jets anyway. Never say no to a Kucherov one-off, like we always say. So, but if I was going to go to Tampa here tonight, I'd probably go to Hagel, Cirelli, one-off Bjorkstrand, something like that. But I don't really love Tampa here. On the Dallas side, assuming Cirelli and Hagel take the Rantanen matchup, that would leave Robertson, Johnson, and Bork out against that Point, Kucherov, and Gensel line, which has been bad. And it's just not bad this season. They were bad last season, and that's why they kept breaking them up.
Bad defensively.
Bad defensively.
Yeah, they could still score. Yeah,
they can score with the best of them, but they play pond hockey. So I do have interest in Robertson, Johnston, Bork here at 16,500, 8.5% top two, 11% projected ownership. Not awful negative leverage there. So for me on the Stars, it would be Robertson, Johnston, Bork. Tampa, Kucherov, one-off for Hagel, Cirelli, or just pass.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention is Curtis Douglas is lined up on that second line for Tampa Bay. I think he got like 4 shifts with Hagel and Cirelli. Basically, after like the middle of the first period of that game on Tuesday, what Tampa did is they just cycled one of Kucherov, Gensel, or Point onto that Hagel and Cirelli line. So they're basically, it would be like Tampa 1, Tampa 3 would take a shift, and then Tampa 2 would go, but one of Kucherov, Gensel, or Point would jump on the ice with them. So you can play Curtis Douglas, but like, I don't even know if he'll play 10 minutes here tonight. I don't know if he's going to play 5 shifts with his line mates. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. I will also say, pretty sure Brandon Hagel got moved to the top power play unit in their last game. That's a bit of a concern as far as maybe playing Bjorkstrand. And I think, I'm just checking now, it was to start the third period. So it's not as if like Bjorkstrand had just finished a long shift and they wanted somebody fresher out there. Like they just straight up made the swap. Now we've seen them do it already this season and go back to Bjorkstrand. So we'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, I think like a Hagel Cirelli 2-man does make some sense here. You want to add in one of the guys from the top line, I think that's okay. I'm kind of with you though. I'm not super high on Tampa. They're kind of like a more expensive version of Boston to me tonight. Obviously I think Tampa's a better team than Boston, but they're just a little bit more expensive than I would want to pay. Dallas is giving up shots, but one thing they do is they give up a lot of perimeter shots. I'm not super concerned about, Andre having to face a lot of shots from the outside or whatever. So pretty much out on Tampa. I think Hagel's a one-off is fine. In particular, on the Dallas side, I agree with you with that Johnston line. I do think they miss Hagel and Cirelli for the most part. That line's at 4 expected goals per 60. You know, Robertson's at like 21 shot attempts per 60. Johnston is in the high teens. Like, they're generating quite a bit. The line is shooting 0%. Like, they haven't scored yet as a trio, and they're generating 4 expected goals per 60. Like, that if they keep anything close to that, the floodgates are going to open eventually. Tampa has a good penalty kill. They don't take a ton of penalties. That's one thing that does worry me. If anything in this game, I think for me, it would be stacking that Johnston, Robertson, Bork line, 16,500. I think that's fine. They're not a target of mine. This is generally not a game where I'm super high on stacking either side.
Yeah. I mean, I do like Dallas, but like, I think there's other spots that I prefer at lower ownership. Not that ownership matters to me, but like, if I can get a better matchup for lower ownership, I'm going to take it. New York Islanders with a 2.7 total heading into Carolina. The Hurricanes have a 3.7. Ghost is still out. Miller still out. Slavin's still out. Matt Barzal out for the Islanders because he was late to practice yesterday, I think. So Emil Heineman moves up to the top power play unit. It's also Big Save Dave and Brandon Bussey in net for these teams. Big Save Dave has had 2 good games. Can he make it 3? We'll never know. Carolina going Jarvis, Aho, Ehlers, Stankov, and Blake, Hall, Svechnikov, Stahl, Martinuk. Islanders are going Horvat, Drouin, Heineman, Callum Ritchie, Kyle Palmieri, Anthony Duclair. Yikes. I'm out on the Islanders. Without Barzal there, like, Stahl is going to be glued to the Horvat line, and that Stahl line is still the Stahl line. It's the best. Like, obviously the best iteration is with Jarvis, and Carrier's out. Svechnikov being there, they're still very, very good. This is a Carolina game for me. Sean Walker is running the top power play unit now that, like, everybody is out on the blue line, which is like, it kind of made it tough to be out on the Islanders initially, but then Barzal got scratched, and that second line is just not it. So this is a Carolina 1 game for me. They're fully correlated. Their prices come down since their Western road trip, 19,200, 15.7% top 2, 12.1% projected ownership. They're up to about 90 minutes, 3.9 expected goals for, 4.8 actual. And that's with a tough Western road trip. Like, they played really tough, like the Avs, the Jet, like they played everybody. So they have really good numbers here. I do like Carolina 1. If you want to go to Carolina 2, that's fine. Jackson Blake was on the top power play unit. Now it's Svechnikov. So I think they're fully correlated on the second unit with I forgot how to pronounce it, but the rookie defenseman on the blue line, Nikishin. So if you want them as a filler, they're only 11,900. So I don't mind that. I honestly think Stahl, Martinuk, Svechnikov are in play as well. Svechnikov on the top power play. The line's only 9K. So if you're doing something spicy with the power play, I think you can do that. I do have a bit of concern that all their puck movers are out. Walker's not bad. But Carolina 1 for me.
What you said at the end is what's rattling around in my brain. It's like, if you were to take 3 defensemen out of the Carolina lineup, these might be the 3 most impactful defensemen just because of what they do, right? Like, Jacob Slavin is arguably the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. If not, he's in the top 3. Keandre Miller is their number 2 defenseman. And then Shane Gostisbehere is their top power play guy. Like, these guys all play very important roles for this team. I don't care how good Carolina's forwards are. They do not have the depth to make that up. And that's why, like, you made the point about the recent stretch of games at Los Angeles, at Vegas, at Colorado, at Dallas, at home to Vegas. Like, that's crazy. But in the 4 games without Shane Gostisbehere, 1.8 expected goals, 3.1, 3.3, 2.2. Like, you know, and the expected goals against 2.8, 5.1, 5, 5.3. Listen, like I said, I know the New York Islanders are not Vegas or Dallas or Colorado, but if they're like 80% of that, right, that's still a lot of shot generation to give up. And I don't know, man, like taking Barzal off the Islanders power play because he's not playing, put Heineman there. It's like, great. Now that line is perfectly correlated, Horvat, Heineman, and Drouin. Taking Barzal off is going to hurt the power play, right? Like Heineman can't do what he does. But still, that's 14,800. The Stahl line's been good, but they've been better offensively than they have been defensively this season. And again, Carolina's missing a lot of key defensemen. I don't know, man. Like, I kind of like Horvat, Drouin, and Heineman here. Like, you know, the last 5 games for Carolina, they've given up 3, 4, 4, 3, 6. And again, a lot of those games with high expected goals against numbers. Now, playing really good teams, but man, it's just something about missing that many high caliber players. Like, you know, could this end up like a 6-4 game for Carolina? Yeah, I think so. But I do think the Islanders are in a better spot than they otherwise would be if Carolina was actually running a much better spot than they otherwise would be than if Carolina was running a full lineup. I kind of like Horvat, Drouin, Heineman here. Absolutely no ownership, perfectly correlated. Horvat's going to play what? 22 minutes, 23 minutes? His wingers are probably going to be in the high teens. So like a lot of ice time against a team who is struggling defensively without their best defenseman, like, you know, big surprise. The goaltenders really haven't been that great. Like, I don't know. I kind of like Horvat. Drouin, Heineman here. On the Carolina side, like, I would probably play it safe and go with Stankoven, Blake, and Hall. I can't play a $19,000 plus line with all those guys missing, especially with Gostisbehere. Like, I like Sean Walker as a player. He is not a power play quarterback. Shane Gostisbehere is. I know Carolina's power play has struggled this year. Again, just look at the teams that they've been playing lately. Stankoven, Blake, and Taylor Hall, 76 shot attempts per 60 minutes so far this season. None of them on the top power play. Honestly, I think that's fine. I think they make a nice filler. I'm going to be honest. There's just something I can't believe. I'm trying to imagine telling myself this a month ago that I'd be pretty excited about playing the New York Islanders going into Carolina, but there's something about that Horvat line going up against a team whose defense core is completely depleted that is really kind of tickling my fancy here.
Follow-up question, because the people will want to know. Would you rather play the Islanders top line at 14-8 or the Flames top line at 14-3?
Islanders.
There you go. Did my job. Pittsburgh Penguins with a 2.7 total. Heading into Minnesota, the Wild have a 3.3. Wild going Kaprizov, Rossi, Johansson, Boldy, Eriksson, Ek, Tarasenko, Hartman, Hinostroza, Foligno. Not really sure why I mentioned that third line. Pittsburgh going Crosby, Rust, Hollander, Malkin, Mantha, Brazeau. Brazeau is just the best to ever do it. He just does not stop. Only player in the NHL. What was it? It was.
Is it 10 points?
10 points, 10 block shots, 10 hits.
Yeah.
Only player in the NHL so far this season. Playing the long game, Brazeau. I see you. And this is an interesting game because I don't particularly like these Minnesota lines from a defensive standpoint. Kind of puts Pitt into play a little bit here. Not that I'm running out to play them, especially because that Crosby, Rust, Hollander line still over 18K with Philip Hollander there. He's 5K for some reason. Just feels like, remember when Josh Doan was like 5,400 on the third line for Utah last year for no reason? It kind of feels similar. because he's been playing like 13 minutes. So I don't really get that. But like it's a decent matchup because Eriksson Ek and Boldy haven't been great. You throw Tarasenko into that mix and it's just a train wreck. I don't know. I think they're fine. I'm not going to prioritize them, but if they get into your mix, that's fine. Obviously, Malkin, Mantha, Brazeau's in play. They're 11,700. They just can't be stopped. I mean, they can't really stop anything either, but neither can Rossi, Kaprizov, Johansson. Like they've been pretty, like it's a small sample, but they've been pretty high event. Unsurprising there. I don't mind pick 2 as a filler at 11,700. My interest does lie more on the Minnesota side. Like there's 15% ownership on Rossi, Johansson, Kaprizov. Like they've been scoring, but their creation numbers in the 2-3 games they've been together haven't been great. Granted, I'm cherry picking a sample size there. Pittsburgh, not great defensively either. I think they're fine, but like that ownership is a bit worrisome to me, especially when you can get, not that like the Pittsburgh penalty kill is like awful or anything, but Eriksson Ek, Boldy, Tarasenko are fully correlated. They are a little bit more expensive, but they're coming in with less ownership. But like then you run into the issue. It's like I'm stacking the Wild power play without Kaprizov. That just feels dumb. You know what I mean? So it's just like I think it's similar to the situation that I handle Edmonton with. I'm putting in Kaprizov, then I'm putting in Boldy, and then I'm filling in the rest. So it'd be some sort of broken power play stack for the Wild for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. For me, it rang of like Vegas, right? Think of the other night where the second line had a really big game. Eichel was on the top line, didn't have any line mates on the power play, and he still had 2 goals and an assist. Like he's just a crucial part of the team, much like Kaprizov is to that offense. So like honestly, if I play Minnesota here, it's probably just a straight up power play stack. Because there's no way that I'm not playing a Minnesota Wild stack without Kirill Kaprizov. I'm going to be honest. I'm not playing the Minnesota Wild here tonight. I don't know. There was an article earlier today about Kaprizov struggling. And when I was researching this slate, I didn't realize how bad he's been playing at 5-on-5. Like his numbers without Matthew Boldy, 70 minutes. Now, again, 70 minutes, we're talking about like 6 games worth of ice time or something like that. So still take it with a grain of salt. But without Matthew Boldy on his wing, 42 shot attempts and 1.2 expected goals per 60 minutes. It's horrific. He's got to get better than that. But it's one of those things like, do I really... It's not like one of those... Like, we talked about the Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnson line. Like, they hadn't scored yet as a line, but they've been creating a lot. So if they keep doing that, keep playing the way they are, they're going to start filling the net. If Kaprizov keeps playing the way he is without Matthew Boldy, it's not like, oh, yeah, there are a lot of signs he's going to start filling the net. There's a lot of signs of like, nah, this guy's going to keep sucking ass. So like I said, if I play Minnesota here tonight, it's a power play stack, but I don't have interest in playing the Wild. And now, like, after I go on this big rant, like Jari's going to give up 6 goals on 14 shots, and it's just going to ruin my night. But like I said, I'm not playing the Wild without Kaprizov. Kaprizov numbers without Boldy are terrible. So you're banking on the power play just absolutely going ham again, I think. So like I'm out. For me, my interest is on Pitt 2 again. I brought it up, I think, on Tuesday's show, but if you look at the Pittsburgh second line's numbers without Caleb Jones on defense, 3.7 expected goals per 60 minutes. Every one of those players is right around or higher than league average by shot rate on a per minute basis. And with Raquel out, Anthony Mantha's jumped up to the top power play. I think Ben Kindle started there in the last game, and then Mantha got like the last 2 power plays or something like that. So now you at least get 2 out of the 3 guys on the power play. And Minnesota's penalty kill is bad. So I like Pitt 2 here as a filler. Like they're one of those lines that, I'm going to put in probably with Philly. I was going to say the Islanders, but they're a little bit more expensive. So they're right there with Philly for me as like a 12K-ish filler stack that I really don't mind playing here tonight.
Yeah, and we just got an update, and the Kaprizov ownership that line went up from 15 to 18% projected. So,
I mean, God be with you.
Yeah. I mean, he got paid, and now maybe he's spending too much time in IKEA getting Swedish meatballs. That's really the only thing to do in Minnesota. Vancouver Canucks with a 2.7 total. Heading into St. Louis, the Blues have a 3.2. What a circus this game is. I saw one of the, did you see the meme? The memes, call the ambulance, but not for me. The Vancouver beat writers like, call the ambulance. No, seriously, call the ambulance. Because now Connor Garland's out. They're a mess. The Blues called up Dalibor Dvorsky. He's not in the player pool because why would DK have the Blues top prospect in the player pool? I mean, I wouldn't. But Quinn Hughes also still out. So Vancouver's going Pettersson, Besser, DeBrusk, Kane, Sherwood, Reichel. That's a second line if I ever read one. Yeah. And then the Blues are going Pia Suter, Holloway, Sundqvist, Buchnevich, Shen, Snuggerud, and then Kyrou Joseph Dvorsky, but he's not in the player pool. So it's just like, what do you even do here? I don't even know if Shen's played with Buchnevich in the past 2 seasons. And if he has, it hasn't been anything meaningful. And he definitely hasn't played with Snuggerud. The problem is, Kevin Lankinen is in net for Vancouver. Hughes is out. I mean, I guess some of these lines are playable just because they're 10,800 and 11,300. The Suter line's 11,300. The Shen line's 10,800. But it's I don't want to play either of these lines. They just don't look great to me. It's a good matchup. The price is good. The ownership's fine. So that would be the reason to play him. But it's the Blues. So it's just I wish this game wasn't on the slate. On the Vancouver side, I guess if anything, it would be Pettersson, Besser, DeBrusk. But we talked about it last season, this season. Every time we can mention it, the expected goals offensively for the Canucks with Quinn Hughes out, it just craters. So I'm out on the Canucks. The Blues are playable just because they're so cheap, but it's I don't want to play them. But you can because of the price and the matchup.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any interest in Vancouver. Listen, they have no Quinn Hughes, who's arguably the best defenseman in the NHL and by far their most important player. No Derek Forbort, not a big loss, but he's a depth defenseman, and they're missing 5 of their top 9 forwards. I'm sorry. It's even more dire of a situation than Carolina. It's one of those things. It's if the St. Louis goaltending can save just 85% of the shots, that's it. Just be 5% worse than the league average.
Just be bad. Don't be atrocious.
Yeah, exactly. Hofer and Bennington have 2 of the 4 worst goals saved above expected marks in the NHL. 2 goalies from the same team.
I mean, John Quick just shut out the Canucks. That's all you need to know about.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just out on Vancouver. For me, on St. Louis, it's Suter, Holloway, and Sundqvist because I don't have a lot of faith in St. Louis, but at least you can say Pia Suter's been playing pretty well this year. So, that's something. And Dylan Holloway's been kind of snake bit to start the season. He hasn't really found his scoring touch yet, but he's over 15 shot attempts per 60. It's 3rd on the team behind Snuggerud and Kyrou. So, and Pia Suter isn't far behind him. Sundqvist and Holloway play the same power play unit. I'm not sure it matters. I can't remember the last time St. Louis actually had a good power play. So I kind of like Suter, Sundqvist, and Holloway here. Just because they're 11,300, just because they are a filler. If they were 14,300, I'd just say skip this game entirely. But they're exceptionally cheap, facing a team missing half their roster, pretty close to half their roster. So with their backup goalie and nets, and there are a lot of positive regression signs for the Blues. The only reason their record is where it is because of their goaltending. It's like, for God's sakes, you guys cannot keep being this bad, I think. So as long as they turn around, they should be fine. For me, it's Suter, Holloway, and Sundqvist. Their filler status. Suter's been playing well. Holloway's been generating a decent amount of shots. I think, St. Louis has 2 playable lines here, but that's the line for me.
Yeah, absolute circus game that will kill you no matter what you do with it. Chicago, the Blackhawks, 2.4 total, lowest on the board here tonight. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 3.5. Winnipeg going Connor, Scheifele, Velarde. I guess this is a narrative street for Tays with Iafallo and Nemestikov. Pia Suter revenge narrative for Haas. They play him. Chicago going Bedard, Burakovsky, Green, Nazar, Teravainen, Bertuzzi, Donato, Mikheyev, Dickinson. I mean, listen, Winnipeg is the number 1 team in the top stacks by top 2 stack percentage, 21.8 or 21.7%, 12.6% projected ownership. The price isn't overly prohibitive at $20,700. This is arguably, we'll get to New Jersey in San Jose. This is arguably the best spot on the board. Chicago, none of these lines worry me defensively. Like Dickinson, Mikheyev, Donato could be fine. But, Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde do most of their damage anyway on the power play. I really like Winnipeg 1 here. The depth, I don't have interest. Like if you want a one-off Iafallo because he's on the top power play, you want a 2-man in with Jonathan Tays because you live on Narrative Street, be my guess, but it's Winnipeg 1 or bust for me. Chicago has the lowest total on the slate. I do have some interest, unfortunately. Not a lot. Like, I'm not running out to play them in single entry. The thing is, like, once you get Morrissey off the ice, it's bad. Like, their defensive numbers are just really, really bad. And not just, like, bad for the Jets. Like, bad for the NHL bad. So, I would assume without their guys, they send out Scheifele against the top comp a bit more than, not Lowry. Like, you can go to Bedard, Burakovsky, Green. Like, I don't really want to do it. I think it would be, Dickinson, Mikheyev, Donato at 12K. It's similar to the Stahl line. Like, I wouldn't run out and play them, but, if they got into my mix, that's fine. If you want to do some sort of power play like Nazar, Bedard, Bertuzzi or something like that in MME, fine. Like, again, I don't have a ton of interest in the Hawks, but, with the top line or with the top pair off the ice, it's just bad defense from the Jets.
Yeah. Talking about regression, so far this season, Spencer Knight leads the NHL, all NHL goalies in goals saved above expected. He's saving 1.9 goals saved above expected per game. To put that into context, Connor Hellebuyck last year had one of the greatest regular seasons we've seen in modern NHL history. He was at 0.8. Spencer Knight's over double that right now for the month of October. So you want to talk about regression, that guy's going to get slammed by it. The other thing is Chicago shooting 13.5% as a team. No team in the NHL finished higher than 12.6% last year, and there's only one team higher than that. I think it was Washington. There's a lot of regression coming for Chicago, especially in net. Like, I like Spencer Knight. I do think he is their goaltender of the future. He's just not as good as he's shown. Like, no goalie's as good as he's shown. Like, if he's half as good as he's shown so far this season, he's a Vezina finalist. Like, that's just how hot he's been. So I kind of do like Winnipeg 1, 21.7% top 2 stack. That leads the board here tonight at 20,700 by my personal numbers, and I using just the projections that I have and stochastic ownership. The Jets grade out as the number 1 line on the board here tonight. Connor and Scheifele have been playing about 21 minutes a game lately. Even Velarde's been up closer to around 19 minutes. quite honestly, whether they're matched up against the top line or the second line or the third line, I mean, maybe the third line, but it doesn't really matter. Ilya Mikheyev is a game time decision that might make the third line better if he's actually in. But again, like it really wouldn't matter. What's drawing me to the Jets is Chicago's the most penalized team in the NHL. They're giving up 4.4 power play opportunities per game. It's almost, I think it's over a full power play more than the league average. The Jets have still had a really good power play. Alex Iafallo, he's good on the power play. Like I think he's an underrated player. He's not a great fantasy player per se, but he's good. He's almost like a Josh Doan type, where he's good in and around the net, and that is valuable on a power play. And 20,700, they're not that expensive. We've already gone over a handful of filler lines around that 11K mark that are very playable here tonight. Typically, I'm not in on $20,000 lines on slates this big. I do think this is a really good spot for Winnipeg, especially where they play so much with Josh Morrissey. I don't think much of the Winnipeg depth defenseman was Dylan Sandberg out, but they just do play. It's like 55% of their time with Josh Morrissey at 5-on-5. So I really do like Winnipeg one. Nothing for me from their depth. Nothing for me from Chicago.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's an 11-game slate. Don't really want to stack against Hellebuck. I was just trying to highlight how bad the Jets are without Morrissey. New York Rangers, 2.7 total. Heading into Edmonton, the Oilers have a 3.3. Rangers going Panarin, Zibanejad, Cooley, Miller, Lafreniere, Sheary. That's really all that's necessary. Edmonton going McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Mangiapane, Draisaitl, Roslovic, Podkolzin. The Draisaitl, Roslovic, Podkolzin line at 14K is getting 12.3% projected ownership. Like, I'm not even exactly sure why. Like, I know Draisaitl and Podkolzin were really, really good last season. They haven't been great so far this season together, and they still have the same finishing issues that they had last year. McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Mangiapane, 1.5%. Like, that's at least interesting, but like, just like you don't really want to stack against Connor Hellebuck, I don't really want to stack against Igor Shesterkin. Like, with these lines, again, with anything on Edmonton, I'm going to do McDavid, Draisaitl, and build around them. That's really what I'm going to do. So if I'm doing some sort of Edmonton stack, it would be McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, something like that. If Tomasek is, you could put in Tomasek if you want. I don't really like these 5-on-5 lines. They always end up moving, Draisaitl, McDavid for shifts. So it would be building around McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't particularly love it, despite how, not great the Rangers have been. That Fox-Gavrikov pairing has been excellent since a bad start to the beginning of the season. Igor has been great outside of that one really bad game. Edmonton power play stack if you do it. On the Rangers side, like I don't really want to play Zibanejad, Panarin, Cooley at 18.5. They've been fine, I would say. But fine at 18,500 on this slate is not good enough for me. I did down to Miller, Lafreniere, Sheary. You can do whatever you want with Sheary there, but I don't mind a two-man of Miller, Lafreniere for fairly cheap for some power play exposure. But this is an MME game for me.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton of interest in Edmonton, which always scares me. You know what I mean? One, I agree with you. I don't really like stacking against Igor. The other is kind of a combination where the Rangers don't give up a ton of power plays. They're at 2.6 times shorthanded per game so far this season, fourth lowest rate in the league. Edmonton's not drawing a lot of power plays either. 2.7 per game, sixth lowest rate in the league. Like, Edmonton might only get a couple power plays here tonight, maybe only one. I mean, anything can happen in a single game, but signs do seem to be pointing to not a lot of power play opportunities on either side in this one. So at that point, it takes me away from power play stacking a bit. And it's like, do I want to stack either of those lines at even strength? Like, not really. Again, it scares me that I'm not in on Edmonton Especially with that McDavid line having such low ownership. That's always scary, but I'm really not in on Edmonton. On the Rangers side, like you mentioned, 18,500 for that Panarin line. Like, it is Edmonton goaltending. I don't know if anybody saw that goal. Skinner was in net the other night where he went to go play the puck and like just completely. Anyways, like, it's always a circus. Anything can happen. I'd rather go to Miller, Lafreniere, and Sheary. One, they're going to miss that Ekholm Bouchard line. The depth defensemen from Edmonton have actually been fine defensively, but that Ekholm Bouchard line can generally do a pretty good job of controlling the play. They're going to avoid them. I was looking at Miller's numbers without Panarin and Zibanejad on his line this year. 62 shot attempts, 2.9 expected goals per 60. They're generating well. It's just like most of the Rangers team, they're not finishing. It would probably be Miller, Lafreniere, and Sheary, but at 14,300, they're priced in a spot where they're not quite a filler and they're also not quite a main stack. And also, this isn't a slate where you need a couple 14K lines or 15K lines if you want to play an expensive defenseman, just because the top two defensemen by salary are both out and there's no defenseman on the board tonight higher than 6,700. So they're just priced in a weird spot for me. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I'm very interested in either side here.
Yep. New Jersey Devils with a 3.8 total heading into San Jose. The Sharks have a 2.7. Sharks going Celebrini, Toffoli, Smith, Eklund, Wenberg, Kurashev. Devils going Hughes, Barat, Palat, Meyer, Hischer, Mercer. Just like it's Ned for the Sharks. Whatever. It's putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. The Devils really aren't getting a lot of ownership here, but like to a lesser degree of the Sharks like sneak tanking. I'm not saying the Devils are tanking, but they keep trying to make Luke Hughes work on the top power play unit when clearly the power play is so much better with Dougie Hamilton. It's not even close. They also took Timo Meyer off the top unit for Mercer. Like, that's just, if you're going to do the two things that are going to piss me off the most, it's take Timo off and put Luke Hughes on and Mercer involved in that. It's just like, I wanted to just straight up power play stack and go like Hischer, Meyer, Hughes, Bratt, Hamilton, and go about my day. But now I think for me on the Devil side, it would just be going like Hischer, Meyer, Mercer at 16,700. They've been the better line at 5-on-5 this season. To a lesser extent than Minnesota, it feels bad stacking the Devils without Hughes. Maybe you take Meyer off and you go double center, Hughes, Hischer, Meyer. He still can power play stack, but like it's really night and day with Luke Hughes compared to Dougie Hamilton. It's a great power play spot. The Sharks take a ton of penalties. Their penalty kill sucks, but just like the Devils are cutting off their nose to spite their face here. It would be Meyer, Hischer, Mercer. I'd find a way to get Jack Hughes in there. If you want to go Hughes, Bratt, Palat, you can leave off Palat, add in Mercer or something for some more power play. Double center, more expensive. I think that's fine. The Sharks is where it gets a little interesting because Celebrini, Toffoli, Smith have been really, really good of late. They're 17,400, but they're coming in with 13.5% projected ownership against a team that generally has an elite penalty kill. I'm kind of in a conundrum on what to do with them. I'm leaning towards fading them at that ownership. They have a 2.7 total, which sounds low, but it's really not considering this roster. Like if they go above their team total here tonight, like these top line guys are definitely going to be involved. I still prefer the Devil side, but I don't think you should just cross out the Sharks here. That top line is in play for me.
If you ask me if I want to play the San Jose Sharks top line at 13.5% ownership going up against the New Jersey Devils, or the New Jersey Devils top line at a third of the ownership for $1,000 more against the San Jose Sharks, pretty easy decision for me.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, the reason I don't like San Jose is this is a terrible power play spot. New Jersey has a good penalty kill, and like your Luke Hughes for Dougie Hamilton is my John Klingberg for Dmitry Orlov. San Jose's power play generates 26% fewer shots, or has been in the month of October, with John Klingberg running the power play. Like, they were actually scoring with Orlov, and then Klingberg came back from injury, and it wasn't like they actually went like 2 or 3 games without scoring on the power play. They just straight up took Orlov off right away. So like, they're going with the power play unit that has been worse by quite a bit against a very good penalty killing team. I'm in on New Jersey at like San Jose. Speaking of penalty kills, the opposite of good would be bad. And that is exactly what San Jose's penalty kill has been so far this season. The San Jose Sharks, 3rd most shot attempts against per 60 on the PK, 4th most expected goals against per 60 on the PK, 6th most goals against per 60 on the PK. Please, I'm just really hoping Dougie Hamilton's running the top power play, because you're right. The expected goals rate doubles. I repeat, doubles when Dougie Hamilton is running things as opposed to Luke Hughes. The goals rate is nearly triple, 3 times as high. Please just use Dougie. But Hughes, Bratt, and Palat, like Hughes is, what worries me is that Bratt's not getting a ton of minutes, right? I think 3 out of his last 5 games, he's played around 15 minutes. I'm wondering if he's hurt. Like, I don't really know what's going on there, but I really do like Hughes, Bratt, and Platt. I might be more tempted to just do like a Hughes Hischier, like 2-man double center stack and just kind of walk away. But I do like New Jersey 1 here. Both New Jersey 1 and New Jersey 2 are very playable. I'm in way more on the Devils than I am the Sharks.
Yeah, it's those decision-making capabilities of Sheldon Keefe why the Leafs never really got anywhere. But anyway, have to take a Leafs dig, even if they're not on the slate. Got to take it. Detroit Red Wings, the 2.8 total. Heading into Los Angeles, the Kings have a 3.2. Kings going Fiala, Byfield, LaFerriere, Kempe, Kuzmenko, Kopitar, Mordino, Armia. Detroit going Larkin, Raymond, Finney, DeBrincat, Casper, Appleton. Breaking down Detroit games after Sharks games is just a circus. I'll start on the Detroit side. Larkin, Raymond, Finney, fully correlated, 16,800. 3.8% top 2 stack, 0.9% projected ownership. I don't think I'm going to get there in single entry. In fact, I can tell you I won't have Detroit in my single entry lineup here tonight. I will say if I was playing 20, 30, 69, 104, you get the point. I would probably have a little bit of Detroit 1 here since they're fully correlated at that price. It's really the only line I have interest in. If you want a one-off to DeBrincat or something, cool. The King side is more interesting to me. Kempe, Kuzmenko, Kopitar probably going to take that Larkin, Raymond, Finney matchup. You know, occasionally for stretches they send out Byfield, Fiala. The point I'm trying to make is like they're both probably going to see not the Sider pair, which has been a train wreck for Detroit. I kind of lean to Fiala, Byfield, LaFerriere, 15,900, 4.3. The one thing that keeps me going back to Kempe, Kuzmenko, Kopitar at 16.6 is 1, less ownership. 2, Detroit's penalty kill is atrocious. And 3, LA Kings top line is fully correlated. You could do something like Byfield, Fiala, Kempe if you wanted to. That's something I've tried multiple times to no avail so far this season. Definition, insanity, etc. Maybe I'll still try it again. But this is a Kings power play game for me. I do like Detroit 1 and MME to some extent. But, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I'm interested in that Wings top line, like you said, perfectly correlated. Los Angeles is the second most penalized team in the NHL. Only Chicago's giving up more power plays per game. The Kings are giving up quite literally 1 power play goal against per game, 11 and 11 games so far. Now, Emmett Finney, I don't think his playmaking skills are quite Patrick Kane, but it's still a perfectly correlated line for 16,800. Finney and Raymond are playing around 18 minutes. Dylan Larkin around 10. Dylan Larkin, about 1.7 individual expected goals per 60 so far this season. Like, he's generating volume and quality. The quality part's been a little bit tough for him in recent seasons, but he's getting there. I think the improved defense core is part of it. But regardless, this could be a night where that Detroit power play sees a lot of ice time, and we know how good it's been basically for like the last 12 months. So I do have a little bit of interest in Detroit one, but I think I agree with you where like it would be more, if I was playing 20 lineups, I might have one of them. Single entry at 16,800. I mean, we've gone over a bunch of those mid-price lines already, but like I'd probably rather play Buffalo. We just went over the like those New Jersey lines. Even the Kings top line on the other side is perfectly correlated, 16,600. So I think for me, it's MME only. I think Alex DeBrincat makes an interesting one off just because he is on the power play. He's not that expensive at 6K. Yeah, I think he has the third highest shot rate on a per minute basis in the NHL, and he still only has 2 goals on the year. Like, he's eventually going to really start filling the net. And he's has a good chance of seeing a lot of power play time here tonight. But I don't think single entry I'm going to be stacking Detroit. On the Kings side, it would probably just be that Kopitar line, just because like they're going to see the depth pairs from Detroit. One, that means more than likely missing Moritz Seider. The other is, I think Travis Hamonic is back in the lineup again. So like, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, the guy's just terrible. It's one of those things where he's so bad, you should pick on him. So if they do see even like 4 or 5 shifts against them, that's a huge plus for that Kings line. That Kings top line, 65 minutes together this season, 3 expected goals per 60 minutes. Like, they're actually generating. Even Kuzmenko is like around a league average shot rate. He's not a guy that typically shoots well. 16,600. I'd rather play the Kings than Detroit, but I think it's the 2 top lines that are in play for me out of this game.
Yep. Let's talk about.
Hold on. They said Brandt Clark rant. I can't do it anymore. After what happened with Jordan Spence and what is continued, and Jordan Spence, at least he's back in the lineup tonight. Like, I just can't do it anymore. It's like, okay, maybe a little bit of a rant. Like, these coaches saying, "Oh, we have to find a way to give him more ice time." No, you don't.
Give it to him.
You just give it to him. It's like saying, "I have to find a way to go get the mail out of the mailbox." No, you walk to the goddamn thing and you take the mail out. You just do it. What are you gonna do?
Look what the Islanders are.
Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin? Who cares?
Look what the Islanders are doing with Schaefer. They're giving him 25 minutes and he's doing stuff.
Second game as an 18-year-old, 25 minutes. You know what? They just nuked Tony DeAngelo into nothing. That's what you do. What the fuck are you talking about? Have to find a way to give him minutes like it's a treasure map. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, sorry. Let's move on to defensemen.
I like treasure. But anyway, 6K range on defensemen. Yeah, just play him. Like, I don't know. Never mind. Dahlin, Bouchard, Hamilton, Hedman, Fox, Morrissey. I was super excited to play Dougie Hamilton. I still might play Dougie Hamilton. I hope we get confirmation on who the hell is running the top power play unit. It's probably going to be Luke Hughes because, yeah. But I still think Hamilton's fine because even without top power play time, he's been getting, 21 minutes-ish, which is high for Dougie. I know he was under 20 last game, but he played 19:30, so don't mind Dougie. Morrissey, I think, is the other guy for me. Also, I think Bouchard and Dahlin are fine. I'd probably play them in correlated stacks.
Yeah, I should say in that game on Tuesday against Colorado, New Jersey had a power play to start the third period, and they took Hughes off and put Hamilton on. So he's my number one defenseman, like of the guys over 6K. He is the number one projected defenseman on Stochastic here tonight at 13 DK points, point per thousand, just over 2. So like he makes I think he's perfectly fine here tonight. I do like Rasmus Dahlin as well. Again, don't think very much of the Bruins. And, obviously Josh Morrissey. Morrissey's peripheral is not great, but I mean, this is a Chicago Blackhawks. Like I said, Spencer Knight's in for some heavy regression. In the mid-price range, like Sean Walker, I said I'm not too high on Carolina, but like Islanders penalty kill sucks, and Walker's still getting a ton of minutes with all those defensemen out, and he's on the top power play. So like, I think Walker, Thomas Chabot, he's projecting extremely well against Calgary. Jake Wallman for Edmonton, I think, because he always has solid peripherals even without the power play time. Jake Sanderson for Ottawa. I honestly would rather pay up for Sanderson over Chabot just because it is such a good power play spot for the Sens. For a little bit cheaper, like Nikishin, secondary power play time, he's going to probably play like 19 minutes. I guess Brady Shea. It's one of those things, like just mathematically he has to project well just because of the minutes, but like I really don't like Asheville. Adam Pelech is getting good minutes for the Islanders. Might have to block a lot of shots against Carolina here tonight. Speaking of blocking shots, Connor Timmins for the Sabres. Our boy the Artem Zub for Ottawa. He's fairly cheap enough. Jared Spurgeon is projecting well for Minnesota. Again, he's like Shea for me. It's like I don't really like the team here tonight, but just he's projecting well, so playable. Under 3K, Alex Vlasic from Chicago, Mike Kesselring from Buffalo, Jalen Chatfield under 3K for Carolina. Looks like Hampus Lindholm's going to be in the lineup for Boston. I don't mind Hampus Lindholm for 2,900.
Yeah.
Oh, he might have that new baby boost too. His wife had a baby this morning, so might be a little amped for this game.
Yeah, amped on a bad team is still amp. Let's talk about goalies. I don't really want to. Like, I don't want to play any goalie here, really, at these prices. Like, Hellebuck at 8,500, I guess he has shot at equity. But it's like, do I really want to risk that? I mean, it is the Blackhawks. More of a cash play than a GPP play. If I was paying up above 8K, it would probably be for
it,
Danny.
Say it,
Danny Vladar.
Yes.
I guess like I know Olmark's been terrible, but the Flames just don't create a lot of quality, and they create a lot of quantity. So I guess Olmark is fine. Alex Lyon in the mid-price at 7,600, Ottinger 7,500. Igor, if you're spending down at 7,300, I think is fine considering the other options in that range. I know you're a Cam Talbot guy. I want to get your thoughts on that because I never have a good read on Talbot, so I think I wouldn't go much lower than Shesterkin.
Yeah. Dan Vladar tied for the highest point per dollar value on the board here tonight.
What are we doing?
22 teams on the slate. I do like Danny Boy here tonight. Again, I don't think anything in Nashville. Allmark, he's tied with Allmark. Listen, Allmark can't keep being this bad, but he could keep being bad. That's something that does concern me. Connor Hellebuck, 8,500 is expensive. It's one of those things where, like, if I make my lineup and I have 8,500, I have no problem putting Connor Hellebuck in. I'm not building my lineup around Connor Hellebuck. It's one of those things because he probably does need a shutout. For cheaper goalies, like I don't mind Igor, certainly. UC Saros, like it feels like if Nashville wins that game, it's like a 3-1 game and UC Saros saved 24 of 25 shots or something like that. So I think Saros very much playable here. And I'll mention Talbot. It's just, I don't, does revenge narrative still count for him? Like how many years has it been since
he's been on every team in the NHL. So,
that's a fair point. Maybe I was thinking of Jonathan Bernier.
He's also been on every team.
Yeah. No, Talbot was only there like a couple years ago. It hasn't been that long. I thought it was longer than that. But anyways, Yeah, I don't mind Cam Talbot if you're spending down, but honestly, if I have 7,300 to pay for a goalie, like I'm playing Shesterkin. So the cheap goalies for me are probably Shesterkin or Saros.
I guess Tristan Jarry. We see the question Jarry with a question mark. He's fine if you don't have 7,300. Like he's probably the best of those options down there. Doesn't make me comfortable. Because,
yeah, I just keep waiting for that bottom to fall out. You know what I mean?
Minnesota is also one of those teams who like don't generate crap and score 4 goals.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we will be. What is today? Thursday. We'll be back. I don't think there's a show tomorrow. We'll be back on Saturday. This is our first year without a Halloween show, I'm pretty sure. But we will be back on Saturday. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
Why not? Jimmy Snuggerud.
Since you're going spicy, I'm going to go spicy. I'm going to try to break some curses, light some sage, see what happens. Dawson Mercer.
Didn't see that one coming.
It's one of those shows. This is one of the better ones. But we will be back on Saturday. Good luck, everybody, tonight. Let's win some money.
Good luck tonight, everyone.